The original I Dream of Jeannie series lasted only 5 seasons and had 139 episodes in all. If you were watching television in the mid-60s to early 70s, you would have seen a new series about an unlikely astronaut who discovers a genie bottle. For a series that ended much earlier than it should have, it's gone on to becoming a beloved classic. But like many other series of its time, there was plenty of controversy going on behind the scenes. In this video, we're going to take a look at some of these controversial events. Make sure you stick around until the end of the video to learn about how one of Jeannie's costumes almost ended the whole series. Facts First presents the controversial costume on I Dream of Jeannie. Show your support for the channel by liking this video before we get started. And as always, be sure to subscribe and click the notification bell for more videos like this. Number 1. The Tipsy Astronaut. We already know Larry Hagman for his iconic role in Dallas playing the greedy, whiskey-swilling J.R. Ewing, but before that he played the comic but stern astronaut Captain Tony Nelson. Not only was Hagman known for his diva-like behavior on set, he was also letting it go to his head for being the star of the show. Often he would start the day off with drinking champagne and smoking some magical green herbs in the dressing room. While you might not notice his swagger on the show too often, this was one astronaut character that was usually flying high, a feat that even NASA would be impressed with today. By the time he poured himself into the role of JR after I Dream of Jeannie ended, he was already perfect for his demanding character persona. But despite his substance abuse, he always hit his mark when he was in front of the camera. Number 2. A magical touch. You might not know this, but every episode written for television is prepared beforehand by a scriptwriter. One scriptwriter who often wrote for I Dream of Jeannie was James S. Henderson. At a time when many Hollywood writers needed the extra money in 1967, Henderson was also writing for another show that was being produced at that time. It seems this writer was also doing scripts for the TV show Bewitched, a conflict of interest that was against the rules and known as double dipping. Though it's not technically illegal, these two shows had such similar plots, some scripts often mirrored each other. By the time the I Dream of Jeannie producers found out he was moonlighting on their competition's show, James was fired without hesitation, but only after he had completed his 35th episode of the series. Number 3. A series of rivals. Now that you know that I Dream of Jeannie and Bewitched were two shows that were pinned against each other, they both shared a magical plot. And while Jeannie had magical powers, Samantha in Bewitched was a witch who also used magic in everyday life. Producers had to be careful how they used Jeannie's powers, so it was decided she would use a series of eye blinks instead of the nose twitch used on Bewitched. Aside from James Henderson, who wrote for both shows, it was a further scandal that both shows were stealing ideas for plots from each other. Oftentimes, there were direct attacks written into the show to make one show appear better than the other. One Jeannie episode included a chimp being trained as an astronaut, ironically named Sam, which was very similar to Samantha on Bewitched. Number 4. Too steamy for Jeannie? You've got to love how the mid-60s handled romance and flirty situations, since Jeannie was supposed to be madly in love with Captain Nelson. But the TV network wasn't going to let romance be too overt, and instead they opted to keep the romantic interludes as tame as possible. This meant even some scenes were filmed intentionally with bedroom doors wide open to visually tell viewers at home no funny stuff was going on. Yet, as ironic as the hippie lifestyle was at that time, in TV land, if things started to become too hot under the collar for Jeannie, she would always find a way to whisk away to her magic bottle. This way, I Dream of Jeannie wouldn't give viewers a feeling that an unmarried astronaut was going to launch his rocket prematurely. After all, it was all squeaky clean fun that wouldn't offend anyone in the conservative 1960s American household. Number 5. JFK Dreams of Jeannie. When you think of John F. Kennedy, you're already remembering his infatuation with Marilyn Monroe. Though for Barbara Eden, she was one actor that is always known for her drop-dead looks. Long before her role as Jeannie, she worked in many TV shows as a guest character. In particular, it was in 1957 she appeared in 12 different shows, including Gunsmoke, I Love Lucy, Perry Mason, and Father Knows Best. Her hard work wasn't unnoticed since she was usually traveling quite a bit. While at a New York airport, she was approached by a staffer who worked for John F. Kennedy. After being identified, Barbara was asked if she wanted to meet with John long before he became U.S. president. She agreed and was given a personal note with his phone number written on it. To this day, we don't know if Barbara ever called him, but her beauty certainly has the power to work real magic. Number 6. The real deal breaker. You might have heard that once you tie the knot in life, the magic is all gone. And in some cases, that can be true. For the final season of I Dream of Jeannie, Barbara Eden learned that the producers decided to allow Jeannie and Captain Nelson to get married. She was furious at the idea and voiced her opinions that it would lead to the end of the show. But the producers weren't fazed and went ahead with their new plot idea anyway. But to the producers' surprise, the initial season's rating crashed and burned. The show was eventually canceled that same year. It seems that for this seasoned actor, Barbara was right, knowing that people watched the show for the flirty romance and not to see Jeannie lose her powers after the honeymoon was over. Number 7. The NASA touch. Many people think NASA is a bunch of tough military guys who like testing out new rocket-powered weapons. But as we know now, this is far from the truth. NASA actually is more like the cast of Big Bang Theory than anything else. Yet the importance of NASA in the late 60s was all about getting a man to the moon. This meant TV audiences needed to see them as being up for the thrill of adventure and feared the unknown than to ever be seen as pen protector-wearing mathematical nerds. You might notice all the astronauts and NASA officials are wearing uniforms that look more military-themed than they actually were. Despite this, fans of the show will be happy to know it didn't hurt NASA's reputation at the time one single bit. Do you think NASA should have been shown like military people or as rocket scientists? Press like and tell us your opinion in the comments. Number 8. The Dallas Connection. It can be said fans of the original show were sad to see Jeannie get married, but that didn't stop the two stars from getting flirty together on the set of Dallas. Nearly 20 years after I Dream of Jeannie ended, Larry Hagman decided to rekindle the romance and invited Barbara Eden onto the show for 5 episodes in 1990. As if these came from an alternate universe, these two seemed perfect for each other. And it was a hit with Dallas fans too, since the audience was teased with the background name of Eden's character on the show. She was finally asked by JR for her married name, in which she replied it was Nelson, the same name as Jeannie's final marriage name on I Dream of Jeannie. Number 9. One more bottle of magic. There's one trademark prop from the I Dream of Jeannie show that everyone knows, but just can't put their finger on it. True fans of the show will already know this one, but for those who don't, it was a bottle that could be bought from any liquor store in 1965. It was actually a bottle that the Jim Beam Whiskey Company had produced for a special Christmas edition decanter earlier in 1964. The producer for the show spotted the bottle in a local liquor store window and knew it was the perfect Jeannie bottle. It was later repainted with a metallic purple and had gold motif lines added. Several of these bottles were used over the 5 seasons that were produced, but hopefully they poured out the contents before Larry Hagman could get a chance to drink them. Since some of the magic that Jim Beam puts in every one of their bottles can make anything appear out of nowhere. Number 10. The navel appeal. Unlike the skimpy outfits you see on TV these days, it was a different story for American TV back in 1965. Society was supposed to be very wholesome and respectful, so nothing vulgar or too racy was allowed to be shown on television. This included costume restrictions for Barbara Eden, as most of her costume was similar to a harem girl. But since this kind of outfit was still considered too racy for TV, censors at the time would heavily fine the production if they showed one little body part that was exposed. It seems Barbara's navel needed to be covered for every episode at her waistline. As a result, their Jeannie costume stayed like that until the end of the series. Yet, Barbara got an updated costume in the 80s for the I Dream of Jeannie TV special. She was finally allowed to expose her navel 15 years later. It seems TV audiences finally grew up by then. We hope you've enjoyed this look at these amazing facts behind the production of I Dream of Jeannie. Did you know any of these facts? Tell us your favorite memories from I Dream of Jeannie in the comments. And for more videos like this, make sure you subscribe to Facts Verse.